Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com, and today we are talking about iMovie for the iPad. Now the class that you are all about to view was recorded live earlier today. For any of you who have never attended one of our live classes, they are completely free. PCClassesOnline.com is a free public service. You can find out everything, of course, on our website. So without any further ado, here is iMovie for the iPad. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox, and today we are talking about iMovie for the iPad. Now, as some of you may be aware, one of the things I try to do with our classes is I try to mention the date at the beginning of our videos, just to keep things relevant so that you know that if you're watching this class a year into the future that it might be outdated. Today's date is October 4th of 2014, and so here we go. We're going over iMovie, and this is on an iPad using iOS 8. So when you open up iMovie on the iPad, it really is, I have to say, a fascinating program. When I first started using iMovie, or really before then, I had this fear thinking, you know what, how could it possibly be easy to edit on an iPad? See, I always edit on a computer. I use Final Cut Pro and iMovie, and it's very seamless. And I was surprised at how simple it really is to do this from an iPad. There's a couple of things I have to mention right now. So as of today's date, the operating system for the Mac, Yosemite, has yet to come out. Okay, we're still on Mavericks, so we're at this kind of weird intersection where iOS 8 is out, but the operating system that really supports it on the computer side is not out yet. The reason why I wanted to point this out is that a lot of you, when you're getting your footage, you may be bringing it in from your computer. And one of the ways that you're going to be able to do this is using iCloud Drive, which is basically very similar to Dropbox or Google Drive. It's just a way that you can store your footage on the cloud. So I don't have a way to demonstrate that portion. So what I have done before this class is I went out just in our little backyard and front yard here and just shot some very, very basic footage using the built-in camera app on the iPad. And that's what I would recommend for any of you out there. If you're going to shoot footage on your iPhone or your iPad, you can technically do it from within iMovie, but it's so much easier to just take your time with it and do it from the camera app because it'll import everything. So when you open up iMovie, this is the kind of screen that you're going to see, and I want to point out a couple of little things here. So we have a little plus button at the top right, and so that's what you're going to tap to create one of two different projects. And the first option, and this is actually the one we're going to be doing today, is a movie, and option 2 is a movie trailer. Now, for any of you out there who happen to be parents, one of the things I love to interject into these classes is to say that I'm not really a big fan of kids playing video games. I think it kind of makes them forget about reality. But what I do love is when you can put something in the hands of a child that inspires creativity. I myself don't really work with children a lot, but when I do get the opportunity to do so, it's really fun for me to get to watch their eyes light up. And this is an example of something that they can have a lot of fun with. So while we're not going over how to build a movie trailer today, I want to give you a little preview of it. So let's go into movie trailer really quickly. And so with this, basically all of these are templates. It's going to tell you exactly what kind of shots to pick out, and it's going to create an epic Hollywood-style movie. It's really incredible stuff. So you can see here we have all these different categories from teen, swashbuckler. What the heck is that? I'm guessing that's like a spin-off of Pirates of the Caribbean. We have superheroes, scary, romance, retro. So just to kind of give you an example of what these look like, Apple has created trailers. So they've created basically what you can do with your footage, but kind of a dummy example here. Let's do, you know what, since we're doing this to inspire creativity with kids, let's do the teen one. I'm just going to play a few seconds of this just so you have an idea. This is how it would come out. Might be a little lag in the video. It's not really coming out that well. I think it has to do with the fact that right now we're broadcasting live, if I haven't mentioned that already. So we have a lot of bandwidth being pushed out, so I don't think it's going to... Let me try one that I did the other day. This one worked really well. There we go. So that kind of gives you an idea of really what is possible with this technology. And I know you probably couldn't hear the audio that well because the people who are here live right now just heard that coming from my speakers back into my microphone, but it still gives you kind of a little bit of an idea of what to expect. And just to show you how these trailers work, again, I'm not really going to go into it. I'll just hit create. So all of the text that you saw, the animated text, you just type it in here. It just kind of asks you a bunch of different questions. And then if you look here, we have two tabs. We have the outline and the storyboard. So when you tap on storyboard, it will tell you exactly what kind of shots to insert. So for example, it wants a 1.7 second clip of a landscape. And then you just replace all of these names with your family members or friends, and it will match the titles with the people. It's really fun. It's really easy. At some point, we're going to try to do one. It's a little bit difficult because I'd have to do a lot of prep work for that class, but we'll try to do that one of these days. But for now, we're going to go to the plus symbol, and we're going to hit movie. Now, just like we could do with trailers, we do have different templates that we can use. These basically just utilize these different titles and transitions, and you can frankly turn them on or off. So in that case, it almost doesn't even really matter which one you use if you don't want to use a template. One of the things I found very strange, in iMovie, in the program, the actual program for the Mac, they have an option for no template, where you just have a blank canvas and it's all the normal stuff. With this, there is no option for that. They make you use a template. You just turn the features off, that's all. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this travel one, I suppose, and that way I'll be able to show you eventually kind of how it looks. You know what, I don't want to do travel because that would kind of go against the subject matter. Let's do bright. And so when you've picked the template that you want to use, or in this case, not use, hit create at the top right corner. Great. So now for those of you who are used to iMovie, this should look a little bit similar to the version for the Mac. So what I want to do is I'm going to start off with going over how to import things like your footage, video, photos, and music. Then we're going to go over a few other features like editing and a couple of different effects tricks, and then go over a few extra little features, including the different ways that you can export your project when you're done. So here, let me kind of go over how this works. So over here on the top right-hand quadrant, this is where you're going to pull your video, photo, and audio content. As you will see here, we do have iCloud Drive listed here. I just can't use it. I even tried earlier going to iCloud.com and uploading, and it would not upload. So it's still kind of in its beta phase right now. It's not really out. The rumor that I have heard, for those of you who are here live, is that October 21st is going to be the day that the next operating system for the Mac comes out. If you have questions, we can go over that after the class. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here where it says all. Okay, and so this is the different footage. We have a little pear tree in our backyard, produced an amazing crop this year. And so I just went out and I shot a whole bunch of little quick video clips that I thought we could use. So if you go through here, you'll see all my little footage. And when you find a shot, let's just kind of start with this shot here. You just tap on the clip, and you'll notice that we have these yellow bars on the sides. And so this represents where your clip starts and where your clip ends. Now, when you import a clip into this bottom part here. This is called your timeline. That's where the actual edit is going to take place. And by the way, this up here at the top left, that's going to be your preview window. So when you're watching your footage back, that's where you're going to see it. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. Some people prefer to import the entire clip and then trim it from there. Others prefer to trim it ahead of time. So this shot here, you can see it might be a little tough, but this shot, it tells me here at the bottom left corner of the shot is 18 seconds long. A little bit long for what I need. So if I want to just see what it looks like, there is a little play button that you'll notice right here that appears. Okay, so you can see the shot there. But again, I don't really need that much. So if I want to trim it, you can either trim it from the beginning or the ending. So if I want to trim off some of the ending, I can take that yellow bar and I can drag it back with my finger. So now that I've trimmed my shot, there's a few different things that I can do here. The first is this little arrow kind of pointing down. That's going to bring that shot into my timeline. And we'll go over where it's going to bring it in a moment once we add a few different shots. So I'm going to tap that right now. And you'll see there it is here in my timeline. So I have that shot. Okay. The other things that you can do, though, you'll see we have these 3 little dots here. We're not going to really cover them because I don't see it as being a feature that many people are going to care about. These are options on the right-hand side for like picture-in-picture. So for example, this one here on the right-hand side, this will cut off half the screen. So you'll have one clip playing on the left-hand side of the screen, one clip playing on the right-hand side. This one here really more resembles a picture-in-picture. And this one here I've never even really used. Again, not a feature many people are going to care about. Okay, we also have a little audio button here. That will just extract all of the audio out of your clip so you can use it separately. This can be really handy if you have an interview subject and you want to be able to go back and forth between them talking and what we refer to as B-roll footage, so other footage. Maybe in this case it would be someone talking about pears. You know, I could have their voice in the background by extracting their audio and then show different footage of pears while we're going through the actual clip. I'm going to I'm going to delete that real quick, which we will cover in a bit. Another feature I want to point out is that you'll notice that now I have inserted this shot. There's this little orange bar that represents the footage that I have used. So what's really handy with that is as you're creating a project, you're using more and more footage and you're thinking, have I already used that shot? Well, if there's an orange bar under it, then yes, you have. If not, then you still have yet to use the shot. So we've got that. Let's go and let's add in another shot here. Now you'll notice that in the timeline we have this white bar. Okay, that's called the playhead. And so what you can do is that wherever this white playhead is, it's going to show you a preview of the footage right there. And all you do is use your finger to swipe left and right, and you'll see how that shot looks. This is clearly all handheld, so it's going to be a little bit shaky. So if I want my next shot to come after this, okay, I want to make sure that my playhead is down here at the very end of the shot. Otherwise, it's going to put the clip at the beginning. So let's find another shot here. We'll just go to a quick shot of this kind of Cape Cod style light that we have. We'll throw that in there. And I'm just going to start to throw in a little bit more footage. We have some of the pears. We had something like 240 pounds of pears so far that our tree produced. So let's put that in. Okay, so I'm just putting in as much as I can here just to give us some content to work with. You'll see here, it's really, really easy to start to put together your project. And now I'll do the reverse. Okay. So as I scrub through the project, you'll see here that we have all of our different shots. You'll also notice that we have this little thing, looks like a little bow tie in between. That's a transition. We'll go over those in just a little bit. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you a little bit about how to add photos to your project, because sometimes you want to add in some still images as well. Now, not everyone here may be familiar, but there's this filmmaker by the name of Ken Burns. And Ken Burns sort of coined this type of shot. He didn't invent it, but it became known as the Ken Burns effect. We've actually done a few classes on the Ken Burns effect in the past. And it has to do with using photos and basically you have this still image, and you slowly zoom in or you zoom out or you pan across the image, and it just gives it a little bit more life to it. So our regular members are probably aware of this. I have a aerial drone that I use as a hobby. I photograph Cape Cod from the sky, and so I thought I'd just use a couple of my little shots here. So, for example, let's use this one right here of the Pilgrim Monument. All you do is you tap on the photo, and it'll just bring it right into your shot. Okay, we can do, let's do another one here. And what you'll notice is that these shots are all the same length, okay? And I want to show you how to edit them and how to move across the photo so you can really determine how the camera navigates around this image. We'll go over that in just a minute. But what I wanted to point out for starters is that if you want to bring in a photo, literally all you have to do is tap on the image. If you don't see the photo that you want, make sure you plug your iPad into your Mac, and that way you can sync the albums that contain those photos. That's how you bring them into your iPad. Also, you'll notice up here at the top right, we have audio. Okay, I gave a little tip during the last live class that a lot of people seem to enjoy. One of the things I've learned from producing content for YouTube, right now our members watch about 7 million minutes of our classes every single month. One of the things I learned the hard way is that if you use copywritten music and you put your video on YouTube, YouTube tends, with most artists, they will censor your video and it will not be able to be played on an iPhone, an iPad, and some Android devices. So, that being said, if you're going to create some sort of a piece that you're wanting to put out on YouTube, I'm going to give you two little pieces of advice. They do give you some copyright-free music right here within iMovie. Okay, you'll see it up here where it says theme music. They also have sound effects. All of the sound effects are also copyright-free. If you are looking for additional music, there is a site that I use all the time now when I'm producing my drone videos so that they don't get censored, and it's called audiojungle.net. I'll put a little link in the description of the video so that it's there. And I'm 90% sure it's audiojungle.net and not .com. But maybe if there's a member who's here in the live class, if they want to check on that, I believe it is .net. But you can buy copyright-free music that's really, really high quality for a low price. That is, if you know what copyright-free music tends to go for. So when you want to add your music in, you can tap on audio here. And let's just go into theme music for now. And so you'll see here that they're all different lengths. For the theme music, most of these are right around a minute long. So let's just tap on a couple and see if we find one that kind of works. And when you tap on the song, by the way, you'll see here that we have, again, a play button to preview and another to actually bring it into your project. So let's hit play and see how this sounds. No. Let's try playful. Perfect. So we're going to hit that little arrow pointed down, and boom, it's dropped into our project. One feature I'm going to point out now, I was going to go over this later, but I might as well mention it now, is you'll see here we can actually see the audio waveform. And that's really helpful, I find, when it comes to timing your shots. So if you really want your shot to change at the beat of the music, which if you've ever seen my drone videos, that's one of the techniques I use to really get the adrenaline flowing, is when there's a beat, boom, you cut. So with this, it's not going to be quite that dramatic, but then again, this isn't Lady Gaga. If you want to add this feature, you'll notice there's a little wave icon right here at the top right corner of your timeline. So just tap that, and that'll bring it in. If I tap it again, it goes away. Okay? Let's go over a few other little things. So we went over, I'm just looking at my notes here, adding video, audio, and photos. Let's talk about moving around these different shots. Let's say in the middle of doing this, you're like, you know what? That shot of that light and those pairs, those need to be reversed. Moving shots is really, really simple. All you have to do is press and hold on any clip and just drag with your finger where you want it to go. And you can see here that the playhead will actually kind of stick to where it thinks that you want it to go. I'm going to actually undo that, which actually brings me to undo, something that's always a good thing to go over. If you screw something up, there's two different ways to undo, and I always like to mention this. So if you need to go back multiple steps in time, there is a little icon you'll notice here on the right-hand side of my iPad. It looks like an arrow kind of whoosh, doing a U-turn. That is undo. Every single time you hit it, it's going to go back a step. And likewise, let's see, let's put that back in. Didn't mean to take that out. Depending on if you've undone and now you want to redo, it's also a redo button. But at this point, I always like to bring up the other way that you can always undo. Let's say you're just composing an email and you accidentally select all the text and delete it. Not everyone is aware of this. If you actually shake your iPad, like left and right, back and forth, like you're shaking a cooking concoction of some sort, cocktail we'll say, it'll say undo. So if I tap on this clip and hit delete, now I've got to pick up my iPad and shake it back and forth, you get a little thing that says undo. And it comes right back. Okay, so we've got our audio. I've showed you how to undo. Next thing I want to go over, has to do with photos. I want to show you how to, oops, I undid the photos. So let's bring those back. Okay, and that. All right. So I want to show you how to control the camera movements here. So when you want to deal with this with a photo, and by the way, yes, you can actually do sort of the same thing with a video. I'll show you that in a little bit. Just tap on the clip, and you'll notice that here in the preview window, it says pinch to position the start. Okay, so what this means is just like you would zoom on an iPad, let's say if you're in Safari, you can pinch and zoom with your fingers and choose where you want your clip to start. And then if you look down here, there's an arrow sort of pointed towards the right. And when you tap that, you're going to pinch and just position the shot for how you want it to end. Now keep in mind, depending on how long your shot is, if you have this big, long, dramatic movement and the photo is only 2 seconds long, it's going to be a little stirring probably because it's going to be a little too fast. So now if I hit play, I just want you to see that it's already rendered the animation here. So here's how it looks right now. Okay, so that's how you do that. If you ever want to change the timing, let's see here. Well, we'll go over that. We'll go over that in a little bit. Let's go over how to do that with video. You know, sometimes you're getting a shot and you realize that maybe you have something in the shot that you don't want. So let's say I want to readjust this shot so that it really just has this pair in it. All you have to do is tap on the shot, and it's easy to miss, but there's this little magnifying glass icon right here at the bottom right corner of your preview window. You tap on that, and just like you did with the photo, you're going to pinch in to zoom. And so now I can perfectly compose my shot. And so now when I hit play, that's it. Very, very simple. Pretty cool, huh? Obviously, if you have a lot of camera movement, it's going to do that for the entire shot. So, you know, just be aware of that. Next thing we're going to go over, audio levels. Okay, so I don't have any clips here with a lot of audio. There is background noise, but not a lot. I'm going to use this light here as the example. Just try to imagine that there is some sort of audio. When you tap on a video clip, you'll notice that you get a bunch of options here at the bottom of the screen. Usually the default one is these little scissors. That means edit. The one next to it is timing. It looks a little bit like a speedometer. So if I tap on that, it's going to have this cute little icon of a turtle and a rabbit. You can probably guess what's going to happen. If I drag this to the left, it's going to slow down my shot. Okay? So it's just going to extend the length of the clip. Whereas if I slide it to the right, it's going to make it a lot shorter because it's going to be moving faster. Okay? So we can leave it right there for now. The next button that you see here is audio. Especially helpful for if you're dealing with people talking in the background and you want to boost their audio a little bit. You'll see that when I tapped on this little microphone or this little speaker icon, I get a little slide bar right here. So it's by default at 100%. But if you can't quite hear them, you can drag it to the right and you can go up as high as 500%. Just be aware that when you do that, any background noise, any static is also going to go up by 500%. And also, if you want to mute your shot, you can simply drag it all the way to the left. And you'll notice that when I did that, it might be a little tough for some of you to see, but there's a little mute icon now at the top left corner. Now, let me show you what happens when you mute the audio. Let me just rewind before that shot, and you'll probably be able to hear. I'll put my speakers up a little bit so that the live people here can tell too. So I'm going to hit play. Watch what happens when it transitions between a shot that has audio, even though there's not a lot of it, to one that is muted. So for those of you who could not hear that, here's what happens. When iMovie detects a shot that is muted, automatically it is going to fade up the music, and when the shot is over, it's going to fade it back down. The point being that when you have someone talking, you want to be able to hear them. So it's going to do that automatically, so you don't have to add any kind of audio transitions like you would have to, for example, in Final Cut Pro. But a very handy feature in terms of eliminating a lot of handiwork that would be fairly annoying. A couple other little things we can go over here. We have little T for text, okay? So if you want to add technically it's title, sorry. Getting technical here. So we have a whole bunch of different little title things here. Some of them are very simple and standstill. Others are animated, and you'll see here it's actually giving me a preview of what these all look like. So let me use this one here on the right. And when I tap on it, it automatically inserts text into my shot. If you don't want it in the center, you can tap this little button here at the bottom that says lower, and it will reposition it. Okay, let's go back to center. To modify the text, just simply tap on it. I'm lazy, so I'm going to dictate. Our Cape Cod home. There we go. And so now, when I scrub over it, you'll see what happens. Granted, probably not the best title for such a short shot, but if we go back here and let's modify the length so that we can slow it down a little bit. Now you should be able to see. And there you go. Went over text. The other thing we have here is filters. Now there's two different tricks for using filters. You can use a filter on an individual shot, or option 2, you can also add it to the entire project. I'll show you that at the very end. So a filter is just a way to give it a different look. For those of you who are familiar with apps like Instagram, it's sort of the same thing, but for video. So if I want to add that effect, I just tap on my clip, and here it's the last option. It's on the left-hand side, but towards the right. And for those of you who use an iPad, you'll probably notice the same icon used in the camera. So I can, with one tap, I can change the whole look. I can make it black and white, just like that. I can make it look dreamy, sort of adds a little bit of white to the edges. Let's see, vintage, probably very appropriate for Cape Cod. Western. Another one that I love is, let's see here. I think it actually is within black and white. No, sorry, it's silent era. Silent era is pretty cool because what it's going to actually do is it's going to add little scratches into it so it looks like it's film being shown through a projector. It's pretty cool. But for now, we're just going to leave it with none because I like my video. Another thing you'll notice when you tap on a clip, let's get out of that, go back to edit. And notice, please, I tapped back on the scissors. Anytime you need to delete the clip, you just tap on the shot, go to the little scissors, and you'll see here on the right-hand side we have delete, duplicate, detach, and split. There's actually an easier trick to split, which I'll show you in just a minute. So detach, what that basically means is you are extracting the audio out of the shot. It's the same thing that I showed you earlier when you were just going through and finding the footage that you wanted to use. But that is one way to do it. Duplicate obviously gives you the same shot twice. Don't really know why you'd need that, but you can do that. And then delete, well, I think that's pretty obvious. So I want to show you an example where split is actually a really cool option. So the example I gave during the last live class we did is I think this is really cool for parents. So let's say, imagine that you have a kid who plays soccer. And since I know my mother is attending this live class, Mom, why did you make me play soccer? You knew I was terrible at it. Anyway, she's laughing right now, I'm sure. So when you are dealing with action, one of the things that's pretty cool is you can start off a shot at normal speed And let's say the kid is approaching the goal with the ball, and then they shoot that winning shot. What's really cool is that when you have that final moment of action, you slow the shot down. And also what you can do is you can add different effects so that maybe it goes from color to black and white. Pretty cool stuff. I want to show you how to do this. So when you want to create a split, here's the easiest way I found. Tap on the shot so that it's selected, so you can see those yellow bars. And all you need to do, I'm going to use my mouse sort of to show you, is you're going to swipe down with your finger. So let me do that real quick. And you'll see here, it created a splice. So we have two separate clips now. So now what we can do is we can modify one shot and leave the other alone. So let's say, for this example, let's say I want to start off with this shot as black and white and then transition to color. So all we need to do is tap on that first clip, add a filter, okay? And where you see that little minus symbol, okay, that just means it's a splice, okay? We can tap on that. And look at this. These are the different types of transitions that you can have. So I'm going to just simply do a dissolve, which is that little bow tie one. We'll go over the other ones in just a minute. So now, watch what happens to the shot when I do this. Pretty cool, right? So it transitioned from black and white into color. But if you were a parent and you were using the example I was going over, what you might do is have this shot be in normal motion, and then when the kid gets the goal, you tap on this clip, go to speed, and slow it down. Just an idea I wanted to at least throw out there for you. Also, I don't believe I mentioned this earlier. If you want to create a freeze frame ever, just have to place the playhead where you want. You do have to be here on the speed option, and you'll notice that freeze is down here at the bottom right corner. One of the questions we received last time we did this class live was from someone saying, what if you want to undo the fact that this is now two separate clips? What I want to mention is that both of these clips contain all of the original data of the shot. So let's say I do a ton of other edits and I come back to this point and I think, you know what? It's really not quite working for me. You don't have to undo everything that you just did in order to get your original shot back. Because these contain all of the original data, all you would need to do, tap on either clip, it doesn't really matter in this case. Make sure you're on the edit button down here at the bottom left and hit delete. So now if I want to extend that shot back to how it was originally, I just tap on the shot. And remember, we have those yellow bars. So now with my finger, I can just drag it out. And so all of that original data now comes back into one shot. I just want to mention that because it did come up during the question segment at the end of the last time we taught this class. I went over that part. Short length in videos, photos. The other transitions I want to show you real quickly. So this bow tie, again, is the default transition usually. And when you're learning about cinema, one of the things that you learn is that if you're creating this kind of a video where it's going to be kind of a cutesy thing, it gets really, really dull and boring if you have the same transition between each shot. It's good to give it a little variety, but also at the same point, don't go crazy with it. A lot of times, you know, the few times I do get to work with kids, a lot of times they'll have these crazy transitions and it just gets really distracting. So have variety, but without going crazy over it. So here you'll see we have none. That is just simply a cut. It goes from one shot to the other. Theme, this is where that first thing that we did is going to come into play. If you have a theme selected, the transitions that go with that theme are going to now be brought into the shot. So let's see how it looks now. That was very distracting. And these change based on whatever theme you're with, whichever theme you're using rather. We also have slide. Okay, so we'll show you how that looks. We have wipe, which is pretty similar. And fade. Fade you're usually only going to be using at the very beginning or the very ending of your project, and there's actually an easier way to do it, so you probably won't even need that feature. So let's change that back just to dissolve. We'll just keep it nice and simple for now. Another part I want to mention is that if you look here at the bottom left, you can change the timing of this transition. So if it's a little too fast for you, right now it's half a second, you can up it to 1 second. Just understand that that's going to eat into both clips. So it's going to eat an extra half a second into the previous clip and half a second into the clip that follows it. So now it's a little bit more subtle. Okay. I want to go over these buttons down here at the bottom right-hand corner. You'll notice that right now I am not selected on anything. I don't have any shots highlighted. We have 3 buttons here at the bottom right. This one here I would not recommend using. This is the camera icon. It will allow you to take video on the fly. But again, I think that you tend to shoot video better through the camera app. You just don't want to be editing as you're actually shooting. Take your time with it. You don't need to rush it. The little microphone icon here is for voiceover. And since yours truly does occasionally do voiceover work, I think we can demo that part. Now, for any of you who are curious, your iPad does have a microphone, and the location of that microphone is really easy to miss. So if you look at the simulated version of my iPad on the screen right now, I'm going to actually rotate it so that it's vertical. There we go. The microphone on your iPad is right at the very top. If you look at where the camera is, it's above the bezel, just barely. In fact, if you have a case, you probably notice there's like a little notch open. That's to reveal the microphone. So when you're recording voiceover work, it's a good idea to hold your microphone relatively close to your face. I'm going to now tap on the icon, which is down here at the bottom right. And so what you'll see as I hold this up is it's giving me sort of a little preview of how my voice appears. And the dot that you see here on the right-hand side is where I'm peaking. So theoretically, you want your peak to be right here in the middle of the yellow. You don't want it to be too far in the red, because at that point you're going to start to distort. And if you're over here in the green area, it's not going to sound that great either. It's going to be a little too low. So forgive me, improv is not exactly my specialty. I'm going to rewind the project. Oh, by the way, that's probably a good thing to mention. Wherever your playhead is where it's going to place that audio. So in my case, I'm going to put it at the very beginning. Okay, and we will attempt to do a little improv here. So let's tap on that microphone icon. It says it's ready to record. And don't worry if you screw up, there is a way to review it. I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, when I hit the little red record button, it's going to give me a countdown, 3, 2, 1. And it's going to start to play the project, and it should play it. We had a little weird thing happen last time. It should not play the audio, because if you think about it, if your iPad is playing the audio of the project while it's recording audio, you're going to have distortion. So let's give it a shot, see how it goes. This year we had an amazing crop when it came time for pears to ripen. Don't know. Oh, I do remember why it's doing that. It has to do, you probably heard the audio play just now. The reason why it did play it has to do with the fact that I am right now mirroring my iPad. So that's the reason why. If I actually, this should help. If I mute my computer, I'm going to redo it. So when you finish recording, you'll see here you have 4 options: cancel, retake, review. It'll just replay the clip, and accept. So let's do a retake. This year, our pear tree produced an amazing crop. We had over 240 pounds of pears to give away to everyone in our community. People made pear pie, pear butter, you name it. And now we start getting into random drone shots. So when I'm done, I'll put the audio back on. When I am done, and let's rotate, by the way. There we go. I can simply hit accept, or I can hit review. And I want to actually mention something that I did that I probably shouldn't have done if this was an actual project, is that if you're going to have a gap of time where you're not going to be speaking, it's really best to stop recording and then fast forward your playhead and then start recording again. Because remember, when it senses that there's voiceover, even if you're not really speaking, it's going to lower the audio of your project. So let's hit accept and see how it looks. This year, our pear tree produced an amazing crop. We had over 240 pounds of pears to give away to everyone in our community. People made pear pie, pear... You get the idea. Now let's say I just did what exactly I just did. And so there's no audio that's supposed to be right here in the shot. Well, you can do, see that little purple bar? That purple bar represents the new voiceover clip. So I can do the exact same thing that I showed you how to do with video. So if I want to create a splice, let's see where my audio ends. It should be right around here. Amazing crop. Okay, so I want to cut the audio at that point. So what I can do is just simply tap on the bar, that little purple bar, and swipe down, just like I did with the other. Now, to make sure that this shot has no audio, what I'm going to do is tap on that purple bar again, and we once again have that little yellow bar. So I can now drag that over here to the side, and I think I started talking somewhere around here. We had over... Nope, I was wrong. So now we can just trim it. We had over 200. So now when I replay this, you'll hear what happens with it's going to fade down my audio right around here, fade in the music. It's going to fade it up right here. It's going to fade down the music here and fade up my audio here. Let's just see how that came out. Tree produced an amazing crop. We had over 200. So you can kind of see how that works. So that's that part. Final few little things we're going to go over here. I want to go over what this little gear icon is at the bottom right-hand corner. So this has to do with settings that are going to affect the entire project. So I mentioned earlier that with a filter, you can apply to an individual shot or the entire project. And of course, if you want to change it later on, you can. So if I want to make this whole video black and white, with one tap, I can convert every single shot. And what I find really amazing about this is that in iMovie on the computer, it would have to render this process. Okay, it's not immediately instant. Or sorry, that's with Final Cut Pro. My bad. But it's instant with this. So now if I replay, even though my preview clips at the bottom, appear to be all color, you'll see that they're actually black and white. Amazing crop. When I go to playback, go back there. You can change the theme at any point in time. So if I want to kind of spice it up a little bit, I can go from bright to playful. And those little creative theme transitions, well, let's see how it looks now. That was just weird. Going back here, theme music, you can turn on or off. It's going to just override whatever audio you have for music, and it's going to insert the theme music that is attached to that particular project. Probably I wouldn't recommend it because you want to be able to play with audio. You want to try different songs and see how it comes out. I mentioned at midpoint that there's an easy way to fade in and fade out of your project. It's right here under the gear. So you can, with one tap, fade in from black and fade out to black at the end of the project. This next option here is pretty cool for people who aren't masters at editing. What this is going to do is it's going to retime your shots to match the beat of the music, or it's going to at least attempt it. From what I've tried in the past, it actually seems to work pretty well. So let's try, I don't know if it's going to affect this kind of clip very much. Yeah, from what I can see here, I can already tell it hasn't done a heck of a lot. Okay. And that's that. Now, when you're done with your project, you want to know, well, what can we do with this video? Well, here's what we're going to do. You see that little arrow actually up here at the top left corner? I'm going to tap on that right now. And you'll notice that we have a few different options here. We have a play button, and that will just simply play your project. So if you're with your family and they just want to see what you've been working on and you don't want to export it to YouTube, but you just want to play it on your iPad, this is one way to do it. Next here we have the share button, and that should look familiar to those of you iPad owners. If it doesn't crash, which is what it seems to do every time I do this on a simulated iPad, here we go. So you can share it now with a ton of different projects. You can share it to iMovie Theater. And for those of you who aren't familiar with iMovie Theater, it usually has, the way you would use it is if you have Apple TV. So it'll basically take your project, put it on iCloud, and you can watch it whenever you want on Apple TV. Option 2 is Facebook. And one of the questions I received in the last class is, what is my particular preference when I'm exporting a video? I tend to do two different options. I usually save the video so that I have it as a file, and technically iTunes and iCloud Drive are other ways to save the file. It's just in different methods. I don't like sharing it directly to Facebook. And here's the reason why. When you go to YouTube, you can track how many people have viewed it. And that's kind of a cool thing. You know, you've worked hard on a project. You want to know how many people have enjoyed it. You can see comments. People can click that little like button, hint, hint. Vimeo, I am personally not a fan at all of Vimeo. Vimeo was actually one of my biggest mistakes when I started PC Classes Online. And the reason has to do with how Vimeo works as a business. They don't value content, in my own personal opinion. We had to pay them to put video up, whereas with YouTube, they welcome everyone with open arms, and there's no cost. If you've shot an amazing news story, you shot that tornado or that earthquake, you can send it directly to CNN. Wonder how they got that deal. Now, iMessage and email are options here. I don't really know why, because you can't email a video. It's too big. So usually what you would end up doing is sharing it through some sort of another option like Dropbox or iCloud Drive once that comes out, etc. And for those of you who have other programs in your iPad that accept video, okay, like you can see, like I actually have Tumblr on my iPad. I have never used it, but I have it here. I could share it through Tumblr. I don't even have an account with them. Also, you'll see here is your little trash can to delete your project. And that is a little preview of iMovie on the iPad. Now, we work really hard to create these classes, and of course, there's no charge for PCClassesOnline.com. We are a free public service, and as of today's date, we have over 120,000 members in 170 countries. So if you've been watching this video on YouTube, we really appreciate it if you hit that little like button, if you share it with your friends. Parents, again, if you have kids, this is an amazing tool to inspire creativity, and I'm a big fan of that, because there's too many of these violent video games in the world. They don't teach us anything, and if they teach anything, it's certainly nothing good. So I'm a big fan of when Apple comes out with a product that really allows you to create. And that's an amazing skill to really develop as a child, is that you are actively creating something rather than just consuming. So that's my little spiel on parenting, which I have clearly no authority to speak on. This is David A. Cox with PC Classes Online. For those of you who are here live, everyone stand by, and I will be happy to answer all of your questions. For those of you who have been watching us either on PCClassesOnline.com or YouTube, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it, and class dismissed.